It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 425. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hello?
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hey there.
Kodra, you answered it like you were answering the phone.
Yeah, who is this? How'd you get this number?
Pizza Express.
New phone, who this?
Oh man. Okay. Stop laughing now. So this week we got a content drop in Guild Wars 2. And I think I'm the only one who's played it.
Yeah,
I'm not caught up on season 1, and I also haven't finished Under Dragons.
Yeah.
I have finished Inner Dragons, and I do need to go check this out.
Yeah.
I have finished Ender Dragons. I'm not caught up in season 1. I need to do something toxic, something toxic.
Oh.
The Nightmare Tower.
I did that today. And that place is miserable.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's real miserable.
I mean, isn't the second part of it a fractal?
It has been converted into a fractal, yes.
Oh, so I might recognize it.
I mean, the map.
Is the second part the shark map?
No.
The toxic shark that we kept
No, the Tower of Nightmares is, part of it is the Nightmare Fractal.
I thought that was the toxic shark.
There is
a toxic shark in that map, yes.
That is the fractal
Okay.
where we kept getting trying to get to that one
Yes, we tried to get to a single note for an achievement and got eaten by toxic shark multiple times.
I mean, I'm just going to say, I think if you look at the number of times we died or struggled in that fractal, it's almost 100% to that toxic shark.
Fair.
pretty much.
I tried for a couple days to get a good run of that. Because as part of the quest, you have to do it in the public version. So it's kind of random chance if you get a full instance that could do the thing. Also, it's kind of a little tuned up. Soloing it was kind of a challenge. So I happened upon a group of, I don't know, 10 or 15 people doing it today. And instead of stopping at the second floor when you get quest credit, I think that's I don't remember if you only have to do one floor or if you have to do 2 floors, but basically you get quest credit long before you finish the actual tower.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just leave at that point and then do the story ends. But we did the whole thing, all 4 floors or whatever. So I have done that and I got the achievements for that. So that was nice to at least be able to move past that. Because I've been doing Living World 1 on my Ranger to kind of try and do all the content in the order in which it's released. But
Does that mean you replayed the original story?
I replayed the original story. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Bad dragon boss fight and everything. The Mordremoth fight is not good. It's very not good.
Mordremoth or Zaitan?
Not Zaitan,
Zaitan.
sorry.
I was about to say, Mordremoth was,
Mordremoth is
great,
a little
but
hard and a little too long, but I think it's not a bad
Mordremoth
fight.
was fine. It was just could have used for having half the hit points it did.
Could have used less hit points. Could have used a checkpoint in the middle.
Yeah. Zaitan, on the other hand, needs to be completely redone from the ground up because it's not even.
It's not.
It's
fun
not
or
balanced for
engaging.
anything at this point.
There's so much build up for it, and it's like a gimmick fight, and you're not really fighting the dragon.
so
Well, basically, when it got converted from a you have to have a 5-man group to do this to you can solo this, it kind of got it got tuned way too low, honestly, in a lot of ways.
It is just kind of a boring fight now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
It's the Cape West Wind of Guild Wars 2.
It really is.
That's a solo instance now.
It's way too long.
That's actually fun.
Yeah.
That's a solo instance, and so is the final boss of the ARR now.
That's
Good.
hilarious. What is the story beats you need to know from the because it's so non-linear, there's no great story beats that seem super important from most of the leveling content up until like 50. So like, what do you need to know? Like, Lion's Arch fell.
I mean, that's part of season 1.
That's
Yeah,
part
that
of
happens in season 1.
Yeah.
Wait, oh,
That's-
Lion's Arch gets attacked.
What you need to know from the original story is that at level 30, you are a trained member of whatever race. You go to join one of the various orders of Tyria.
Yep, because there's 3 of them and they're all idiots.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
You then work with the orders to not Lion's Arch, but it's
Claw Island.
Claw Island.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just off of Lion's Arch,
Yeah.
right?
Which is
Yes.
basically the barrier keep for Lion's Arch.
Yeah, it's an island in
You
between.
successfully work
Lion's
with
Arch
your
and
order after failing once to defend Claw Island from one of the minions of Zaitan. You go. This whole working together thing is pretty cool, and along with Green Jesus version 2.
Yeah.
Traherne.
You defeat not Tequaddle.
Yes.
It's the same model.
Yeah.
But like, yes, Traherne comes in and his like life mission, which is a thing all Sylvari have, is to kill Zaitan.
Yeah, his wild hunt. Yep.
His wild hunt. And,
Actually, his wild
To
hunt
purify
is
ore.
to purify ore, not to kill Zaitan.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I mean like which it seems like he just kind of failed.
No, I mean,
It's most of the way there.
it's gonna take a while for it to like take, aka not within the time span of the game. But the purification of ore has begun and is an ongoing thing now.
Of note, this
Because
is
we helped Traherne.
ORR, not ORE.
Yes. And
Anyway, these 3 orders come together and form the pact, and the pact comes together with 5 people who really don't like each other and successfully beats up Zaitan, and that's the original story.
And they name you the commander.
Yes.
Like, probably the most important thing for understanding the rest of the game is that you are named the Pact Commander.
You are the Pact Commander at that point, yes.
And then you are no longer the Pact Commander after that, but everyone keeps calling you Commander.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
Poobah.
like it's the Commander Shepherd. Commander?
And you don't need to, like, if you understand that you led a pact into battle against a dragon, the Dragon of Death, and defeated it, that's what you need to know. And you
Pretty
shouldn't, if you don't care to learn anything more, which
would-
honestly you shouldn't.
I would say, like, honestly, there is a point in which it's worth playing through. Like, especially
So
if you're going
some
Whispers.
of the racial intros aren't terrible.
Like-
Unfortunately, they're mixed, and even
They
like
vary.
among some races, they're of extremely mixed quality.
Yeah.
hmm
I would say, like, the individual orders quests are kind of cool.
Yeah, that's about what I'd say.
Tybalt is great, so,
Yep.
you know.
The
that's good.
individual order quests. So I think I just did Vigil, and boy, that was bad.
Vigils is less good because Forgal is less good than Ciara or Tybalt.
But yeah, the 2 of them are both better.
Yeah.
Ciara is a slightly crazy Sylvari who needs to learn to like worry about things ever, and Tybalt's just great.
Tybalt is the best. I mean, Tybalt is the best ever.
He likes
Anyway,
apples.
yeah, so like I did the Nightmare Tower today, and at some point I will finish out the 5th part of Living World 1. I have done the marionette fight, and that was cool. I had never done that before, so I guess at some point I need to queue for the event when it's happening and experience it legitimately and not the story version.
I mean, I think for that you
Isn't
need
that only during one of the festivals?
Marionette? No,
It
Yes.
happens every day.
Yeah, it happens on a regular basis. You need to try and get like when a group is actually doing it
Right.
though.
Got it.
The
Which I think
biggest
usually
thing-
there's one like right at daily
So
reset.
reset.
The biggest problem that I am having right now is I cannot get into a Dragon's Inn to save my life. Because it seems like at any given time there's only one map that's actually doing it, and it is always full because everyone's trying to cram into that one map. So I'm hoping,
I mean, this is the thing you have to show up very early for, right?
hmm
yeah. But even at that, like, you have to be lucky that the one you zoned into is the successful one.
You might have to like watch the looking for group for
Well, I've
You know,
been
commanders.
joining in looking for group, But
For
by the
commanders
time,
getting ready to do one, like before they're even in that zone,
yeah,
look for
but
them in Arborstone.
by the time I join the group is already full, and like they're on low readiness at that point, and they're already full. So
No,
yeah,
usually they fill up before they even zone into the
yeah.
Dragon's Den map. I mean, unless that's changed.
I need to get serious about that because siege turtles are really handy in the new meta.
Siege turtles are awesome.
They're handy in some of the old metas too.
Like
They're real handy in
they're
Drizzlewood.
required in the new meta. So the new map, Gyala Delve, is basically on the other side of Dragon's End, out in the Jade Sea, and like I don't want to necessarily talk about the story other than it's been good so far. It's kind of leaves at an inopportune time because obviously there's going to be another patch that continues it.
Right.
And I think there's 5 pieces essentially in this story drop that kind of like introduces what's going on at Gyala Delve.
I mean, basically, the one thing that I know about it, like having not played any of it yet, is Best Friends Detective Agency. Go.
Yep.
And that's all I need. I'm here for it.
That is what you're experiencing is the Best Friends Detective Agency. Rama's great, Yao is great, Gorik is great.
Yes, they're all wonderful, and I love them.
The map itself is really cool and like it's bigger than I expected it to be. Like there's 5 pieces to the map currently, and it's kind of got it's this blending of Drizzlewood and maybe Tangled Depth and maybe like it feels like a blending of a bunch of maps you've already played before for the meta. Essentially, you're going across the map and taking back territory free, and there are like fights at different towns. And as you unlock a town, that segment of map becomes safe to be in.
Okay.
Essentially, there's a toxin in the air, and you have to equip a Jade Bot air filter. And so at every town there'll be a machine that you can swap out your filter, and the default one takes like 30 stacks of stuff, which I don't know for certain what causes it to tick down. I just know that even in worst case scenarios, a charge or a stack of 30 is enough to get you through one leg of the journey. And oftentimes, like, you could probably get all the way down towards the bottom on a 30 stack. I just swap out at every town just to make sure I don't run out.
That's true. That's the one other thing I'm aware of is that apparently remember to swap your filter is the new remember to hydrate.
Yep. Yeah, and like I've seen this like bar before, and I don't remember where I've seen it, where basically like a cell phone battery charge indicator goes over your head.
You get it during some of the Path of Fire stuff when you're trying to talk to Timey.
Okay, yeah,
that's true.
When you're trying to get a good connection. Okay, that's where it's from. Like I knew I had seen this before in the UI, but when your filter starts to get low, you'll get one of those bars over your head to warn you. But even then, you still usually have plenty of charge to like finish out a fight before you need. The only time I have ever came or gotten close to being out of charge is on the very final boss fight at the bottom of the Jade Sea. But like the map is freaking cool. I mean, like you're going into a delve, like a cave that's been mined into the Jade Sea. And like as you get further down, you can see sea life frozen in the jade in the walls. That just happened to be there when the Jade Wind blew through back in, well, was that in Guild Wars 1 or was it prior to Guild Wars 1?
It's pre-Guild Wars 1.
Okay, that's what I thought was pre Guild Wars 1. But yeah, it's just cool. Like it is very well detailed, gorgeous map. Really cool weapon sets that are part of it. Like doing the full meta, I was getting 2 boxes of the choose your weapon they're not choose your stat, but like it's a weapon crate that you can choose which one you want out of.
Right.
And it's
Yeah,
got
'cause
a
there's a-
ritualist on it.
Because there's a new weapon skin set from that.
And I know there's another box that has the katana-looking sword and the 2 different directions of dagger that are that style of like Tanto-looking dagger.
Mm-hmm.
That's like there's an ascended choose your weapon box that drops as well with those. I know there's a really cool looking Dead Space pistol that I don't know where it comes from, but I've seen people with it. Like I think it's like supposed to be some piece of construction equipment, like a nail gun, but it just looks like
That makes sense.
The gun from Dead Space,
which is also supposed to be construction equipment.
Yeah, which is it's an improvised gun in the first place. So I think it's cool. Like I've done the full meta I think 3 or 4 times now. It's not super long. It probably takes about 40 minutes to get all the way through. It's not very prone to failure. The final boss is a bit of a bullet sponge. Like that's my only complaint is the final encounter just seems like it takes a really long time. And then when one group kills theirs, they can go help out with the others. So like it almost felt like we were just doing it wrong. Like maybe there's a thing we're supposed to be doing that makes it not feel like it takes forever.
Yeah, I'm sure the community will like figure out the best way to do it. There'll probably be some trick.
The thing that I've been most surprised at is that a lot of the Guild Wars 2 content creator community has been not very hip on this new map.
Are these people to whom season 1 was not new content, and therefore they've been bored for like a few months?
Yeah, and that's the impression that I get, is that I've heard the same, like, well, it's been over a year since we've gotten anything.
That's not true.
Discounting Living World 1. Like, Living World 1 was a lot of content, and like it was a rebuild of that content. It's not that it was just re-released. And I don't know, like to me, like quite a bit of content. Like it would be a lot of content for like a WoW patch. I mean, I feel like Gyala Delve is more content than one of the phases of Argus when they unlocked that in WoW. So I guess my perspective is like, seems pretty good to me. Like if we in theory get something of this size every 3 months, then seems good to me. Like I enjoy the meta. I don't know once the new wears off if this is going to be one of the forever metas that everyone runs. I don't know. I don't think there's a, whatever they're called, the shiny weapon look inscriptions. What are they called?
Oh,
infusions. Yeah, the things that people run like Chalk Garrett every time to try and get.
I mean, there's also the bit where doing stuff in Maguma requires you to have all of those currencies, which is part of why all of those metas run all the time.
Yeah. Because sooner or later you need more of one of those.
Yep.
Like it's a lot like Dragon Stand in that everything you do drops boxes and you get a fixed number of keys that you can get every day.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, if you farm it enough to get your 50 chests worth or whatever, you're getting a lot of loot. Like it's a lot of loot. I think the final encounter drops something like a dozen chests or something. That, I mean, obviously you have to have keys to open,
but
but by doing the stuff, you're getting plenty of keys. So I don't know. I was impressed. I'm anxious to hear what y'all think of it when you end up running it.
I generally am pretty positive on most of the zone metas, so I'm looking forward to. Is there a big fight at the end?
Yeah, there's a big fight.
I love the big fights at the end.
Yeah, like it's. I mean, you know, it kind of reminds me of which one is the Heart of Thorn big end of expansion map?
Dragon Stand.
Dragon Stand.
That's Dragon Stand. Okay. Look, they're all called Dragon something.
I know.
Dragon's End.
No, that's the end of Path of Fire one.
Yeah.
Or not Path of
No,
Fire.
not Path of Fire. End of Dragons.
Yeah.
End of Dragons. Okay,
What's
yeah.
the end
Dragon's Fall.
Dragon's Fall. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That was the end of season
5.
or Heart. Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
Dragon's
This has
Stand.
been a theme in naming.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of been related because we've killed a lot of dragons now.
Yeah, so
There's
like
also Dragon Storm.
there's certain aspects of it that will feel like a single lane Dragon Stand. Because there's kind of just the one path through the zone. But like I don't know how it's gonna work, but it looks like whatever the next content drop is may just add on to this same zone. Because like if you look at it, it looks like there's a whole area to the left of the current Gyala Delve that maybe like it looks like it connects up. I don't know.
I mean, that's been a thing a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See also Silver Wastes and
Yep.
Yeah, Dry Top.
Dry Top.
and both of the Champions maps, Drizzlewood and
Yeah,
Bjorn Marches.
yeah, because Drizzlewood started out as the north-south originally.
That makes sense. Yeah, like a lot of my perspective is that I wasn't playing when content rolled out, so I didn't know what to expect. Like I've only ever played content once it's all finished. And this seemed like plenty of content for folks to obsess over for 3 months.
We'll see.
In ARPG terms, if I had gotten this much in like a league or a season or whatever, I would be happy. So we kicked around the notion of talking about Diablo 3, but like we've all or at least Grace and I have wrapped up our season. I don't know where you're at, Thalen, but more than happy to help if you need to wrap yours up.
I haven't done a lot more.
What does wrap up mean here?
Complete the season journey, and in this case, also complete the new season mechanic altar thing.
Yeah, once you finish Hadrig's Gift, aka the thing that's set, there's a whole sequence of things that happen after that rewards you a set of prizes.
So is this the end of Diablo? Is this the last season, or?
I mean, that's what everyone kind of assumes.
I mean, I would expect that they will continue to have some season content going forward, but that it may be very vanilla.
I mean, they ran seasons with almost no changes for a number of years.
Yeah.
Previous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we just went back to seasons that just don't have a new mechanic each
Right.
season.
Or they might rotate in stuff they've already done or something. Like
Yeah.
even this one, some of the potion mechanics that you can get are basically mimicking mechanics from previous seasons.
I've not finished my Altar of Sacrifice. I don't know if or when I will. I'm kind of still poking at it, but like I got Guardian in the season journey, which is the final step, which means you solo cleared an 80 and gotten your gems up to 70 and cleared 3 conquests and mastered a set dungeon. Like there's a whole laundry list of things that happen every season.
Killings. Basically, you have to kill all the different bosses at various difficulty levels throughout the journey. Yeah, some speed clears and things like that. But
So just for the record, is this the equivalent of hitting like 40 of 40 challenges or like 35 out of 30 challenges, end of meaningful rewards or something like that?
Well, there's no more challenges other than the altar. So like they're all like
Okay, so this is
done
like
at this point.
did everything.
did everything.
Did
Yep.
everything.
Got it.
Yep.
And you get a new pet, and it's very cute. And if you haven't already maxed out your stash tabs already, you'll get that.
But I've long had mine maxed out, so like
Yeah.
that's not a bonus anymore. Yeah, mostly it's just to say you did it.
I
And
mean,
to get
the
the pet.
pet is good.
And the portrait frame was really good this time for getting Guardian.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Um,
But the altar is pushing it a little bit further. So Completing the altar requires you basically have to sacrifice specific things. So it might be 50 each of all of the stuff you get for doing bounties. It might be some blood shards. It might be some very specific pieces of gear.
But on the
And
blood shards, it also means like you have to have cleared like a 90 in order to have the capacity to have all the blood shards at once.
so there's 26 nodes on the altar, and to get the last one, you have to have cleared a 110 to have enough blood shards.
Oof.
So I have done it. I've cleared it. You also have to sacrifice the equivalent of 6 primals, which for good or ill, I got a bunch of really crappy primals this season, so I didn't mind sacrificing them. But you have to sacrifice those to unlock the potions that add bonuses when you use your potion, which is kind of nice. And then once you've everything unlocked, then from that point forward, you can unlock the node where every time a primal drops, 2 primals drop, which is kind of cool. And I still haven't seen a primal drop since I've unlocked it.
Of course not.
The nice thing that they did is they made a permanent pattern that allows you to craft a primal. You can only have one of them equipped at any given time. That's a crafted primal, but you can basically just like turn any item that you need for your build into a primal after you've like deconstructed 2 primals. I think it's 100 of the primal juice.
Yeah.
And you get 55 for eating a primal. But like that's a pattern that's nice to have just permanently. I kind of hope that they'll if they're putting this into full maintenance mode with the launch of D4, that they like turn back on some of the greatest hits collection of things. Like
the bonus set item one.
That one was amazing. Yeah, what would be really cool, and I don't think they would ever do this, required development, is like when you start your seasonal character, you get to pick what bonus you want of a rogues gallery of past seasonal bonuses.
I mean, I would just be happy if they just gave us the altar going forward, because there's a lot of really nice quality of life stuff there. Having your pets pick up a bunch of extra stuff is great. Disenchanting automatically is great. That's huge, honestly. It speeds things up so much. And the double bounties is also amazing.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, very basic quality of life things.
But now that we've put D3 to bed, we're really looking forward to this coming week on Thursday when Last Epoch's multiplayer patch drops. And
yay!
Like to call it the multiplayer patch is a bit of a like it's not giving it enough credit. They have done massive reworks of a bunch of stuff. Huge graphical overhauls. There's a bunch of graphics that they still had in the game from an asset pack they bought early in development. And they've now replaced, I think, all of those with like unique graphics. Like the default bone golem is this crappy floating armor thing with some pieces of bone on it. And like now the new bone golem is this really crazy like giant gorilla looking thing made out of bone, like with skulls and stuff all over it, and it moves like a gorilla. They redid a lot of the music. They've smoothed out some of the skill talents.
Do you know if they've added any more of the classes, like specializations, or if those are still locked?
No, those are still locked. Because like I every so often I'll watch one of the live streams from one of the devs, and this was early February, but he said like Falconer doesn't even exist at all yet.
Boo.
Which is the one I'm really waiting for. Like,
yeah,
they've got some initial design work, but like no version of it exists that's playable. So it will be a long time before Falconer and Warlock and some of those go in. I think they've just been trying to get like the multiplayer, and then the trade patch will be at 1.0, I think.
So, and this is a question I'm curious on. What's their ethos? Have they mentioned any on multiplayer? Should multiplayer be chill and fun, or the way that you press yourself to do the hardest things possible to get the best possible rewards?
So it sounds like multiplayer is a net add, not a net loss. Like, it sounds like the multiplayer is going to be more like a Diablo style multiplayer where like it buffs up the monsters, and but everybody gets their own loot. None of the mechanics that I'm aware of would really penalize you for having people with you.
I'm just because we played a lot of Path of Exile, and that game wants you to do multiplayer if you want to make the game harder for yourself.
Right. And
Yeah,
that doesn't seem to be the case here that I've seen.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. And just the mechanics of the game are more forgiving for multiplayer. As far as I'm aware, there's nothing like limited portals that that screw everybody over if one person dies.
Yeah, the only thing that's kind of similar to that is I don't remember the name. I think it's called the monolith.
Mhm.
So once you end up, well, actually it unlocks well before the end of the game. Like whenever you get access to the final hub,
End of time.
yeah, you can go venture into the monolith, but like the monolith has a level on it. You should respect the level that the monolith has, and I think the first one is like 55-ish or so.
I mean, you don't have to
I think I
respect
did
that
it around
level.
50-ish.
I went in there
I
at
mean, it
like
sounds more like
35 and
rifts before greater rifts happened.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the only thing about that that's punitive is you have to beat a map the first time you're on it in order to get the reward.
In order to get the good rewards.
Right, the good rewards.
You can still you will still get rewards, but if you die, you won't get the good rewards.
Like you can keep trying it just to unlock it. Like the monolith reminds me of Path of Exile maps, except for you don't have to go find the maps, and they're just there. Like there are a number of nodes, and you could run a node to unlock it, and it'll unlock the neighbor nodes.
Yeah, it reminds me of the end game mechanic in Torchlight Infinite a lot. But it seems pretty reasonable. Said that there's you may lose the good loot, but you still get something for doing it, and you can attempt it as many times as you want. And I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things about the design of this game that I really dig. Have I talked about the trade at all on the podcast?
No.
So, like they went back and forth with the community. So like by default, when multiplayer opens up, you will be able to trade items to people that happen to be running the dungeon with you at that time. Like it is the standard D3 loot. Like if we are running a dungeon together and you get a drop that I need, you can gift it to me. And you can't trade anything to me. Like it's not like an actual trade where like here's a trade prompt and we can both throw something in. No, it's just like I can gift it to you. So that's how it's going in now. However, there was a bunch of the community that is, Path of Exile Trade League oriented that was kind of upset about that. So they have created what I think is probably the most elegant compromise.
It seems real good.
Yeah, so basically when you start a league, you will join one of two factions. One will basically be the merchant faction, and one will be like the faction of mystery. Something I forget what it's called. Basically, like you can only sell things to other players if you're a merchant faction. And you will have to like level up with that faction before you can sell like set items or the rarer stuff in the game. Like, and as you level up with that faction, it will give you basically additional trade slots. So like it's the merchant faction.
The other one is the fortune hunter
Yep.
fate faction.
So basically, by cutting yourself off from being able to trade with other players, and I'll get into that in a second, you get a permanent magic find bonus. You will see more loot, and it will roll rarer than if you aren't part of the faction. You can, however, still trade with people. So say you and I are grouping together, we will build up a currency between the two of us from grouping together. And if I want to give you items when you're not on, like gifting will work the same no matter what. Like if you're still in the party together, I can hand you an item, life is good. However, if you're not in the trader faction, you can basically build up like this is grace currency. Like I am running with grace. I have X amount of grace currency. I can utilize some of that currency to send an item that dropped when they weren't around. So like say there's a wand that you really need for your build, or a specific item, or something that rolled really well in this department. You can spend some of that, friend currency to just hand them the item if it dropped when they weren't around.
And
That's cool.
Regardless of the faction. And I think there's limitations on the
Well-
number of times an item can be traded, so that you
Items-
can't just.
Which is once, I think.
Items
Yeah.
can only be traded once. However, here's the thing. If an item drops for a fortune hunter, only other fortune hunters can ever use that item. There's no crossing the lines. Like it is branded as basically a solo item. So traders can't have access to those items.
They've got that Northern Ireland protocol figured out.
Yeah. And you can change between the factions, but those items permanently stay trader faction. Or not trader faction, but the fortune hunter faction. So that you can't.
They're basically trying to balance if we have trade, that means we need to drop more worse items.
Yep.
So they have basically separated it and gone, you can have that, or you can have this.
Right. And I am absolutely going to be fortune hunter.
Yeah, I am so here for this entire concept. And yes, I'm going to be on the fortune hunter faction. I do not need trade. Although it sounds like there will be a auction house.
Yeah, it'll be
so
unattended.
I will dislike trade less in this scenario, but still, like, I want to enjoy finding stuff for myself, and this sounds fun.
Yeah.
But that's not happening, and this is 9 is so.
I have to stress, from true semantic versioning, being at 0.9 doesn't mean you're like 1 away from 1.0.
Well, no, they have said they're really close to the final relieving early access. Like they're shockingly candid on their developer live streams. Like they will straight up say, I can't say anything about that, but then also like have said they're really close to the 1.0 release and when the trade system goes in, because I guess they've been working on it for a while in a hidden test that some people are in but not others are in.
I'm just saying, semantic versioning,
yeah, I know,
is very confusing for people because it
like
looks
there could
like
be a 0.91
you
Or
can
even
have
a 0.10.
Yeah, you could have 0.12.25.
Yeah. And based on how the multiplayer release goes, I'm sure there will be non 1.0 versions.
And I'm sure there will be patch versions of this.
Like the thing I dig about the current state of Last Epoch is it is way easier to just roll into the game and build something functional without knowing what you're doing.
That's good. It's very good.
Yeah, that is a major problem with Path of Exile.
Seriously.
A very, very large problem with that game.
And it's also fun to do this thing in Last Epoch, and relatively straightforward to fix mistakes.
Well, and it feels like they rush you into a viable build really quickly. because like you get a movement
Sort of.
power early. You get like some kind of a multi-shot thing pretty early. Like you have a functional like okay, this is me saying from just having played Demon Hunters up in Diablo 3, they feel awful for a really long time.
I'm aware of that problem.
And
Wizards don't feel great for a while either, unless you
Like-
really like Arcane Orb.
like the rogue, if you decide to go like bow rogue, you feel viable real fast, like before level 10.
Yeah, it's shocking how quickly it just feels fun to run around and murder stuff, and you don't feel like you're being punished for starting a fresh character.
Well, like just going full guns into lightning into wizard class, like I guess mage is what it's called. Like it felt great. Like I'm a lightning mage. I can watch my attacks bounce between things. Like this feels good already. So I don't know. Like I hope that this goes smoothly. I am looking forward to being able to actually play this game with other people.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Phantom Brigade.
Oh, bots.
So, I mean, do you like mechs? Cause
Yes, I do like mechs.
Because I like mechs. Did you think BattleTech was cool, but maybe a little hardcore?
Yes.
What BattleTech are you talking about? BattleTech Tactics game?
Talking about the BattleTech game made by Airbrains Games.
Okay, yes.
Like this game is really fun. It's so the concept is I think that it does a bad job of selling itself. Because if you read what it sounds like it sounds like Shadow Tactics.
It sounds like Frozen Synapse.
I don't remember Frozen Synapse.
Fair enough. That game did come out 12 years ago now. But the big thing is you sort of have a plan phase in which you make decisions, and then an action phase in which those things happen.
Yeah.
Except in Frozen Synapse, you don't get a lot of information during your plan phase.
Yeah, and this game believes in the opposite thing. This is okay, the thing that I love about Shadow Tactics is it gives you perfect information all the time, which is really important for the kind of game it is. This also gives you better than perfect information all the time. Specifically, like the premise of this game is that you're a crack team of mech pilots whose country was just invaded and taken over, and you managed to escape mostly with the help of this prototype bit of tech. Your prototype bit of tech is basically a swallowtail from Lancer.
Okay.
You can predict what the battlefield is doing ahead of time. So, which includes what moves all of your enemies are going to be making. So what you're doing is you basically are it's turn based broadly. You have turns that play out kind of like Divinity Original Sin, where like there's an amount of turn per turn, and you can do whatever in that amount of turn. And you choose like when during the turn do you want to do this action, and it will take this amount of time, give you this amount of heat, etc.
This is starting to sound more like Transistor than anything else.
Yes.
I was about to say, so if I've played Robo Rally,
This is going to have this has a lot in common with like Transistor and maybe a little less Robo Rally, but there's still like elements of it there. And it's like it's a little bit of XCOM, but like the way BattleTech and XCOM give you difficulty is with die rolls. You know, you're basically trying to stack benefits so that when you do a thing, it happens and does the best thing you can. Versus this, where it's not actually hard to get, is a target in your optimal range? You're probably going to hit it. It's fine. It's that you need to make sure that like you don't have an ally in the way. Hey, I've got a sweet beam weapon. I can hit like 7 things with it, including my own people if I cross the beam. So you've got to get good about positioning to make sure that you're not putting your own allies in the way of your other allies shooting. And similarly, like that the enemy is going to be where you think it's going to be when you fire. And so like end of the day, it's actually really, really cool. The way it plays is really smooth, and it's really neat watching it. There's a couple of things that I wish I wish it messaged a little bit better, because I didn't know to look for it. I had a mission where it was basically the first real mission at the end of the tutorial that I lost a bunch of times because I didn't understand the overheating mechanic, which is, overheating is a classic mech game thing. And what I didn't realize was that it doesn't actually warn you if you take an action that would overheat, but it shows you on your like timeline how long you're spending overheating. And so, I rolled into this mission and I was like, all right, everybody fire all your weapons. It'll tell me if I'm overheating. It's like, no. I just cooked everybody multiple times before I realized that I was dying, not because I was being shot at, but because I was just blowing up my own mechs.
Whoops.
Which is,
Which seems like bad times.
Yeah, like lesson learned, but
is the game mostly like just a kill squad, or are there objectives each mission?
Every mission is different. It's got so it's a single player game. It's got an overworld. It's got an overworld tactical map that you are physically moving around in, picking fights. Different combat scenarios have different objectives. Sometimes you've got allied mechs. Sometimes you've got, sometimes you're trying to do a thing that doesn't actually involve killing anybody. There's a lot of gear and like swapping mech parts around. I'm currently having trouble because I don't have, my mechs are all super heavy, which means they're ultra slow. And so I'm mostly just kitting them out with horrific long range weaponry and being like, yeah, this is fine. But it's really, it's fun to kind of put this whole thing together and be like, all right, I can position myself so that when this enemy comes around the corner, they're, getting blasted the moment I see them. And I can literally run circles around this enemy so that they can never draw a bead on me, because I know where they're moving to and where they could shoot me, and I can just not be there. I'm still getting used to it. It's definitely challenging, but it's got some. I haven't played with it, but it does have a bunch of difficulty settings, which is kind of nice. It's not as like, there's not as much variety, and it's not as like visually fun as BattleTech, but it's a little friendlier at first. I'm really enjoying it. It's I was like, oh, I want to play some mech games, so I played some mech games this week, and this is probably the one I've been having the most fun with.
I am like, this is intriguing to me. I'm very much like in the tactical mind space because I'm playing a lot of Madara, and I'm like looking for more experiences like that. So I might check this out.
Like I admittedly still think that Hairbrain Scheme's BattleTech is better, but I've also played that. Like I've squeezed the juice out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
And so this is good, and it's doing something somewhat different, and I think that's fun. It's kind of neat, setting up a turn and then watching it all play out simultaneously.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about this ahead of the show, but Kodra, you beat Wagon World.
I did. Wagon World, the troll world is finally fallen. The last world was very fun. The second to last world, which was Meta World, which is all of the like, let's really push the concept of like what it is to like make you do a troll level. The final one had 2 levels. One was called Wrong Level. The other one was called Don't Go Here First. And both of them constantly had you going back and forth between them as you learned new information about how to solve the other. And featured just an absolutely excellent troll where I just basically sat on a platform for probably about a minute before Ash pointed out that I wasn't in fact moving, and in fact the rest of the level was moving around me to make it look like I was moving. And I felt real silly after that. But yeah, I beat it, and it's very fun. It's a very cool creative project. If you have Mario Maker 2, I think it's currently up for download right now.
I think it's gone.
Oh, it's been banned again? They keep bringing it back. Listen, it's not like anyone at Nintendo is actually paying attention to their content moderation. It's just letting an AI make all of their decisions for them. So, yeah, they'll just keep re-uploading it, and you can play it. I recommend it. It's very fun. And if any of them really frustrate you, if you just download all the levels, then you can skip some. But I had a very good time. My son has added the word jank to his vocabulary.
It's a good word. Like it is important that you learn about jank and kludge early on.
Yeah, well, there's some jank. There's in fact an entire world of this called the Dawn of Jank.
I'm still forever amused anytime my son says that something is cursed.
So yes, that's happening so much, and I'm like, no, okay, yep. He uses it appropriately too.
My son doesn't always use it appropriately. Like, I don't remember what it was he was referring to. He's like, it's probably cursed. I'm like, I don't think that's applicable here.
So this next topic, like I assume most everyone here has at least the general idea that, Microsoft is getting some pushback on their acquisition of Activision Blizzard.
A little bit.
Sony is my minor way to put it.
Sony is trying real hard to put their thumb on the scale.
I mean, I don't like either of these big corporations. I am mostly happy that somebody cares about antitrust.
So, because
Microsoft is probably the company next to AT&T, where regulators are most like, haven't we been here before?
Yeah, we've done this before. But Sony has taken a real interest in trying to sink this deal. And it's probably going to have some negative impact on them.
On who? Microsoft?
On Sony.
Oh, why?
Because, we remember when we talked about the Apple and Epic Games thing.
That it was possible for both companies to lose.
Yeah, that it's entirely possible for both companies to lose. So this week, a judge ruled that Microsoft can, in fact, subpoena Sony's financial records to show how much they've paid to keep people off of the GamePass system.
Oof.
That's exciting.
Yep, which is a thing that has been an open secret in the games industry for a while, that Sony, when they don't pay for exclusivity, they will pay at least to keep it off Game Pass. So yeah, that's going to be interesting, because I don't think people will take that too kindly.
So it's interesting because Sony doesn't have a pending merger, right?
Nope.
No, they don't.
So I don't know, they're kind of in this situation where there's no the agencies at play here aren't necessarily interested in Sony right now.
No, this is not going to have any bearing on the case, but it will cause collateral damage for Sony in the public, more than likely.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably being asked for so they can compare what is reasonable in terms of exclusivity deals.
Yep. I assume that's the direction at which they were able to get this.
But also, if Sony's going to come at Microsoft's going to air as much of Sony's dirty laundry as they can.
They're going to drag it all out into the light.
I'm okay with this.
I mean, if it brings on less exclusives, I'm probably cool with that too. Other news in the land of general corporate malfeasance. We've talked about how a lot of companies did not expect that the pandemic was a one-time event.
Yeah,
and continued moving along, expecting that all of the consumption levels were going to stay the same.
Yeah, no, they decided this is definitely the new normal, and like nothing could possibly change.
Except for making people come back to the office.
Yes.
So which of I can think of like half a dozen things just off the top of my head that directions you could be taking this bell.
Probably not the direction you're thinking of.
I don't know.
So we've reached the point where there are a lot of warehouses that have a lot of material that no one can sell.
At like a lot of plastic material.
A lot of plastic material.
A lot of little plastic dudes with way oversized heads. That's exactly where I thought you were taking this.
Yep. So this
Funko
week
Pops
and
in
actually
a landfill.
Yep. So there's 2 of these cases that have happened within a week of each other. So this week, like millions of Funko Pop figures were found in a landfill in Arizona, where instead of just selling off the stock, they wrote it off as a loss and threw it away.
Look, if they sell that stuff for cheap, it'll kill the collector's market, and then that would be just bad for everybody.
Did they throw them in the same hole with the ET game?
No, but it looks exactly like that. But they didn't even bother to put like a bulldozer over it. There's
Isn't
just
there also
cases.
a similar case with cardboard.
Yes, that's the other one. So last week in Texas, in a landfill, case after case of Magic the Gathering cards were found. Just like Modern Horizons 2, the gangster theme set,
New Capenna.
Also, the product you would expect to find in the landfill. Cough, cough.
Yeah, like it was just based on the photos that had surfaced, they guesstimated that it's about $600,000 worth of product that was in this landfill. So I don't know what's up with this. Like I know exactly what's up with this, but generally speaking, when something like this happens, companies pay for someone to destroy the product.
Yeah,
not just go sit it in a landfill.
Yeah, like the Magic cards in particular, I would have thought they would have just, run them through a shredder or something.
Yeah.
Too much work.
I guess.
That's a lot of product to run through the shredder.
I mean, also that 30th anniversary stuff was in there, right?
Was it?
No, it wasn't.
Probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not surfaced yet.
No, I'm pretty sure that sold very well, and now people are selling 30th anniversary versions for more than like real versions, and I don't understand.
No,
that's dumb.
So this has been a source of a lot of questions. Like the assumption is there's a bunch of 30th anniversary just sitting in a warehouse somewhere, because they're just about to give a free assortment out to what is it, what's their abbreviation for the Magic
influencers?
Like UPN or something like that. It's like
the Wizards Play Network stuff.
Yeah, WPN. There you go. Yeah, they're about to give free boxes to them.
Is this like when Ticketmasters found a bunch of Taylor Swift tickets like under the seat cushions?
Yeah, something like that.
It's like, yeah, we're totally sold out. Then okay, except for these ones.
And the thing is like right now, everyone is hypersensitive about all of this. So they're not going to people are going to notice when something like that shows up. And the thing with like the Magic is it didn't even come from within the Magic community. It came initially from a Reddit of people that go to local dumps and look for things like this to flip on third-party markets. And I think maybe even the Funko Pop one came from a similar group.
So I have been seeing people like posting screenshots of eBay purchases of or eBay sales of like dual lands, 30th edition dual lands for over the price of their like revised copy.
Weird.
That makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't. I mean, that's one of those where I kind of wonder is like, who's the buyer? Who's the seller?
Something wash sales, something.
Something wash sale, yeah.
A lot of there has been a lot of talk of like it's the same handful of sellers just trading them back and forth to try and get the prices up.
I mean, we've learned how to do this right now, right? Because we've all seen crypto. We can make this work. We've seen it.
It's a non-regulated commodity.
Well, speaking of crypto,
for now,
Crypto Bro's gone from Square Enix.
Isn't a
Right.
new
Probably.
Crypto
He's
Bro
probably on the way
back,
out.
or no? Is that? I thought the new CEO was also into NFTs.
I don't know.
The new YouTube CEO is into NFTs, and that's
Yes,
annoying.
heavily.
But the Square CEO who's into NFTs is looking like he's on the way out.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it. Oh no, yeah, here we go. We do have a name of a replacement.
Yeah. It's funny because I can't, like, the previous president of Square Enix was Yoichi Wada, who did a lot of things. I couldn't remember anything this guy did.
Oh yeah, the likely replacement previously worked for a tech company devoted to researching emerging trends such as blockchain and Web3. So,
Yep.
I mean, it's possible he learned from that research that it's all garbage. Seems unlikely.
Man, I feel like if you say you are researching NFTs, the only thing you are researching is how to scam people out of your money with them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, right? If you are a company and you don't care about your reputation, you can just do an initial NFT offering and make a lot of money. Who cares if you don't do anything with them afterward?
I mean, the problem is, like, I don't remember where I saw this opinion, but that a lot of the grifts that are going on right now aren't even that smart. They just sound
No.
smart.
They're not remotely smart, and they're not new. They're just flipping a new sounding thing.
I mean,
It's the same scam, just over and over.
most of the grift is targeting the people who are true believers, because, like, boy, is it easy to scam people who make the initial purchase of cryptocurrency.
Well, they now have this thing that they can't actually do anything with.
Well, yeah, so they are motivated to make it worth something, and so they're probably willing to believe just about anything that will earn them a return on their investment.
And even if they don't believe it, they're going to keep saying it to try and convince other people to try and convince someone so that they can dump their thing and get, make their money back.
I mean, The Line Can Only Go Up by Dan Olson is a great video on this topic.
Yeah,
Yes. Far better than any of us can say it.
it's true.
Mechwarrior Online.
I think I mentioned that I was playing a bunch of mech games, and so I loaded up Mechwarrior Online, and it's been a while since I played a 12v12 shooter.
Kind of surprised it's still trucking along.
I mean, it's busy. It's honestly, like, I'm actually considering. I think they're made by the same people. I'm actually kind of annoyed that Mechwarrior 5 is not this clean.
They are in fact made by the same people.
They are. Yeah.
Yep.
Like it feels really good to play in a way that MechWarrior 5 does sort of get, but not enough. But like if just the visual and the sound and the moment to moment of MechWarrior Online was what the baseline experience of MechWarrior 5 was, I would play a truly horrendous amount of MechWarrior 5.
I mean, I love Mechwarrior 5, but
Me too. And it was a splash of cold water how much better the just like feeling of dropping in and playing and the weight of the mech and so forth. There is a lot of customization. It is I rolled in and got wrecked a number of times before kind of finding my niche. But I really like the progression. I really like that it sort of doesn't matter that winning versus losing does not matter all that much. And like, I mean, maybe I've gotten lucky so far, but I've played probably, 20 matches or so, and the like overall level of toxicity is pretty low. I mean, partly just because the game doesn't really give you outlets for that, which is good in a competitive multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that anyone has said to me is like, bro, your PPCs have a minimum range. I was like, oh, that's helpful to know, because I didn't know that. But yeah, it's like it's just mission based 12v12. You get one life, you leave the match when you die, unless you want to watch how the match plays out. It's sort of whatever. And And like just as a, I think I'm going to do this for a little bit. It actually works out pretty well. At first, I was like, and the thing that really stands out to me, other than stomping around in mechs is fun. The thing that really stands out to me is that you get one life per match. Like if you die, you're out of the match. And my initial take was, wow, that seems like it sucks. But having played a bunch of it, it's like, I actually kind of like it because you don't die that quickly for starters. This is not like a, you get one tapped and now you're done because you're in a giant multi-ton mech. Like even me running around in a light mech, I don't just evaporate when something shoots at me. But also it means that I don't feel stuck in a match I'm outclassed in. So if I do go in and get wrecked, I can get out and get into something else. And they're like, skill-based matchmaking has given me about a 50% win rate. And, some matches I am the first one to die. And other matches, there was a match where I was the last one standing and we won. So it's kind of interesting to see, Mechwarrior has always had a different view on your standard, shooter team-based shooter structure. And this feels like a pretty neat refinement of it. It also made me reinstall Mechwarrior 5 and note that there is a patch coming out next week for it, which I'm interested in and excited about.
I would assume something like a mech shooter would probably be pretty forgiving connection-wise.
Oh, yeah.
The weapons don't tend to be really run and gunny.
Yeah, that's sort of the other thing is that, like, it's not the twitchiest game. It's definitely slower and more ponderous. And, like, my current jam is running around in a Panther with a zillion jump jets and a pair of PVCs. So I fly around at speed, zapping people with a huge gun and then hiding. And that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it definitely. Again, I wish I could play single player stuff in it. I understand, like, that's not what this game is, but that's kind of where I want my Mechwarrior, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that part of the reason that I want this to be Mechwarrior 5, like I want Mechwarrior 5 to be this functionality, like this kind of functionality, is because I legitimately saw when I was running around on my in my light jumpy sniper, I had somebody else run up next to me who was like, cool, I'll cover you. And it was a Phoenix Hawk with a zillion medium lasers.
I do miss the Sonic the Hedgehog robot.
And it was like it was so funny to watch this guy, like, people would try to get in a position I would get in like a little sniper battle with somebody, and then out of nowhere, this tiny little mech would run around this guy in circles, zapping with lasers until he fell down. And it was hilarious.
If you're in their back arc, it's a lot harder to get hit. And I turned some of those missions into very different missions than what the game envisioned.
I mean, it's cool that it let you.
It sure did. Well, so I don't even know if that game let me do that, or if the mod pack we were using let me do that.
Little column.
Because I definitely was abusing the mod pack. Like,
I mean, they let you put an oversized engine in the thing, which is really where most of the nonsense came from.
Yeah, that's where most of the nonsense came from. And then what I discovered that the core game, tree collision, was definitely a thing that they programmed in but didn't expect to be a problem. But it was a problem for me because turns out that amount of slowdown was enough to really cause me to have to duck and weave between trees.